I am the famous American. Let's get to it. Let's check out some fan mail, which was funny because I don't really have much fans on this channel. Usually it's people from Europe telling me what a fool I am for being an American, having perspective of not knowing much about world geography and history and all those things. Of course, in reality, part of our culture is it does not help us to know more about those things. We focus on what is going to actually help us in our careers. And so therefore, making YouTube videos, putting links to go to Amazon where I can get kicks. I mean, I make lots of money that I forget about just from like selling a pair of shoes that I did a review on 3 years ago. So we're really focused on making money, entertaining. When it comes to trivia, see, to me, world geography is just trivia. That's all it is. Because our life here in the United States does not improve by knowing world geography. It's just trivia to us. So if we want to talk about that, we could maybe talk more about that. But for right now, here's Santia Dodera, who left a comment on a video called DNA Test Results, Native American DNA is usually exclusive to Hispanics. Okay, the comment was this, quote, if the United States had a border with Uruguay and Argentina instead of Mexico, they would not think that the Latinos are not white, end quote. I'm going to immediately agree with that. I think that if we looked at countries where the overall genetic makeup was people with less Native American DNA, and they looked more like me at least, where they looked more of whiter version, then I think that yes, we'd be less aware. And I think that there would probably be less discrimination throughout US history against people if they look more like us. I'm very aware of that. I don't agree with it. It's not good. It's a bad thing. I've referenced it many times. There's a episode of Black Mirror that references this, how the US military put these chips in soldiers' brains to see the enemy as these zombies going. And when one of the soldiers' chips malfunctioned, they saw, wow, this guy looks just like me. He has the same general genetic makeup as me. He's not a different race or ethnicity or religion, because ultimately that's often what we do in the United States with our military campaigns. We need a country to go at war with that's either a different race, ethnicity, or religion, and that helps secure the motives on why we're starting a war with them. I'm a libertarian. I'm not in favor. I'm in favor of avoiding war as much as possible. And I think the United States government's involvement with war, for the most of the time we've been a country, it's very obvious that we go beyond where we should go, that we have our own agenda. I say we, I'm talking about the government. I'm not talking about me specifically. I'm always questioning why we're at war. Why are we at war now in the Middle East? When you look at the 9/11 attacks, when you look at who was on the hijacking those planes, it wasn't people from the countries that were attacking. And that's only the most recent occurrence of that. So yeah, this comment really means a lot to me. I really relate to it. I appreciate you asking. So my question is, yeah, if we had different neighbors and they had a lighter genetic makeup, I think by default, there would be less, it'd be less obvious that people in Mexico or whoever our neighbor was so much different. And the same with Canada. We forget that Canada is a different country. That could be its own video too. We forget that Canada is a country. Honestly, we just look at it as a 51st state. It's like, okay, if you live in a country with 50 states and they all have their own laws, which they do, here in Tennessee, we are very welcoming for business, but we're also pretty conservative. Compare that to California. California is very liberal, but they've got a whole different set of laws and rules. It's almost like it's a different country if you compare Tennessee and California, which that could be its own video. So many good ideas popping out here. But ultimately, when I look at Canada, I'm like, I don't see how their laws are that much more different than California's compared to where I live in Tennessee. So ultimately, yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think when we have people that we border with that have genetically much more different background as a whole, it's going to be that much more obvious. And of course, the language difference too. But again, if we were talking about a different country that mainly spoke Spanish, etc., like the ones mentioned. So yeah, I think that's interesting. If you would like to leave a comment about anything I've said in this video, we could talk more about it. This stuff is interesting, right? Your comments belong right here.